I didn't raise my voice. I didn't call for help. I just lay there on the garage floor, tasting copper and concrete, watching my daughter-in-law's shadow disappear back into my house. The house I'd built with my own hands 42 years ago. The house where I'd raised my son, Thomas. The house they wanted to take from me. My phone was still in my pocket. My ribs screamed when I reached for it, but I managed. 3 rings. Carson residence. Margaret, I said quietly. It's done. They took the bait. There was a pause on the other end. My attorney of 30 years knew better than to sound surprised. You're certain? I'm lying on my garage floor with what feels like broken ribs. My daughter-in-law just shoved me into a concrete wall because I hesitated to sign their papers. Thomas stood there and watched. Yes, Margaret, I'm certain. I'm calling an ambulance. Not yet. We stick to the plan. Document everything first, then we move. I ended the call and stayed exactly where I was. The security cameras I'd installed 3 weeks ago were running. The tiny recorder in my shirt pocket had captured every word, and the papers they'd brought, the ones they were so desperate for me to sign, were still sitting on my workbench, unsigned. Let me go back. Let me tell you how a man ends up on his garage floor, documenting his own assault by his family. 6 months ago, Thomas called me. This wasn't unusual. He called every Sunday, like clockwork, had done so since his mother died 8 years ago. But this call was different. Dad, Jennifer and I have been talking. We're worried about you. I was replacing a washer in my kitchen sink. I had the phone on speaker. Worried about what? You're 72, Dad. You're living alone in that big house. What if something happens? What if you fall? I fell off a roof when I was 68 and walked myself to the urgent care. I think I can handle my own stairs. That's not funny. We want you to think about moving in with us. We have that guest suite. It has its own entrance. You'd have your independence, but we'd be right there if you needed anything. I turned off the water supply and dried my hands. Thomas, I appreciate the concern, but I'm not ready to give up my home. We're not asking you to give it up. Just think about it. For us, for your grandkids, Ethan and Lily would love having Grandpa around more. The grandkids, he knew where to hit. Ethan was 14, Lily was 11. I saw them maybe once a month if I was lucky. Thomas and Jennifer were always busy. Work, activities, life. I'll think about it, I said, which was my way of saying no without starting an argument. But Thomas didn't let it drop. Over the next few weeks, the calls became more frequent. Jennifer started joining in, her voice syrupy with concern. They'd found articles about elderly people living alone, statistics about falls, stories about confusion and forgetfulness. We just love you so much, Dad, Jennifer said during one call. We want to make sure you're safe. I started noticing things after that, small things. When I went to their house for Sunday dinner, Jennifer would ask me the same question twice, then exchange a meaningful look with Thomas when I pointed it out. You already asked me that. Did I? She'd touch my arm, her face arranged in sympathy. I'm sorry, Dad. I must have forgotten. Or maybe you forgot you already answered? Thomas started showing up unannounced. Just checking in. He'd walk through my house, his eyes moving over everything like he was taking inventory. He'd open my refrigerator, check expiration dates, make comments about how I should really throw out that milk. It's probably bad. The milk was fine. I'd bought it 2 days ago. Then came the incident with my medication. I take blood pressure medication. Have for 15 years. I know my dosage. I know when to take it. But Jennifer, during one of her increasingly frequent visits, picked up the bottle from my kitchen counter and frowned. Dad, this prescription is from 3 months ago. Have you been taking these? Of course I have. She shook the bottle. There are too many pills in here. You've been missing doses, haven't you? I haven't missed a single dose. Dad. She set the bottle down and took my hands. This is exactly what we're worried about. You're forgetting things. Missing medication. What if it gets worse? I pulled my hands away. I'm not forgetting anything. That's a new bottle. My doctor changed my dosage. The old pills are still mixed in there, but the seed was planted. I could see it in Thomas's eyes when Jennifer told him. Concern, pity, determination. 2 weeks later, Thomas came over with papers. "Dad, Jennifer and I have been talking to an attorney. We think it would be smart for you to set up a power of attorney, just in case something happens, so we can handle things for you." "I already have a will, Thomas. Everything's in order. This is different. This is for while you're still alive. If you get sick, if you can't make decisions, we need to be able to handle your finances, your medical care. It's just being prepared." I looked at the papers, standard power of attorney forms. Except they weren't. I didn't sign them that day, but I took photos of every page when Thomas left them with me to look over. That night, I called Margaret. We'd gone to high school together. She'd handled my mother's estate, my wife's estate, every legal document I'd needed for 40 years. She was also sharp as a tack and had no patience for nonsense. "These aren't standard forms," she said after I emailed her the photos. "These are immediate and irrevocable. If you sign these, Thomas and Jennifer get complete control of everything. Your house, your accounts, your investments. And you can't undo it." Why would they do this? "How much are you worth, David?" I did the math in my head. The house, paid off, worth maybe $800,000 in today's market. My retirement accounts, my late wife's life insurance, the small inheritance from my parents, around $2.5 million, give or take. Margaret was quiet for a moment. "That's motive enough. Don't sign anything. And David, start documenting everything." That's when I began to understand. This wasn't concern. This was a plan. And I'd been too blind, too trusting, too much of a father to see it. I started recording our conversations. I kept a journal, dated and detailed. When Thomas and Jennifer came over, I made note of everything they said, everything they did. The way Jennifer would rearrange things in my kitchen and then comment the next week about how disorganized I was becoming. The way Thomas would bring up memory tests he'd read about online, suggesting I take them. The way they both started using phrases like "at your age" and "for your own good." I also hired a private investigator. His name was Marcus Chen, and he specialized in financial fraud. What he found made my blood run cold. Thomas and Jennifer were drowning in debt. They'd refinanced their house twice. They'd taken out loans against Thomas's 401k. Jennifer's boutique law practice was hemorrhaging money. They were 3 months behind on Ethan's private school tuition. Their cars were both leased, and they were behind on those payments too. They needed my money, desperately, and they'd decided that the easiest way to get it was to have me declared incompetent and take control of my assets. The irony was, I'd always planned to leave everything to Thomas. He was my only child, but I'd also planned to live quite a bit longer and enjoy my retirement. I'd planned to travel, to spend time with my grandkids, to volunteer at the community center where I taught woodworking to teenagers. I didn't plan to be erased from my own life at 72 because my son needed money. "We need them to show their hand," Margaret said during one of our meetings. "We need evidence of intent. The documents aren't enough. They could claim they were just trying to help, that they didn't understand what they were asking you to sign. What do you suggest?" We set a trap. You tell them you're ready to sign, but you have conditions. You want to read everything first, slowly. You want to understand every clause, and you let them get frustrated. Let them push. Let them show who they really are. And if they don't push, Margaret looked at me with sad, knowing eyes. Then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they really are just concerned. But David, my instincts are rarely wrong about these things. So I called Thomas. "Son, I've been thinking about those papers. I think you're right. I should get my affairs in order. Can you and Jennifer come over this weekend? We'll go through everything together." The relief in his voice was palpable. "That's great, Dad. Really great. How about Saturday afternoon?" "Saturday works. Come around too. I'll make coffee." That week, I prepared. I installed security cameras in my garage, my living room, my kitchen. Small, discreet ones. The kind you'd never notice unless you were looking for them. I had Margaret draft new documents, real power of attorney forms, the kind that protected me while still giving Thomas some ability to help if I truly needed it. And I had her prepare something else, a revocation of any power of attorney, signed and notarized, ready to be filed the moment we had what we needed. Saturday arrived. Thomas and Jennifer showed up at exactly 2 o'clock. Jennifer was carrying a briefcase. Thomas had a folder tucked under his arm. "Dad, you look good," Thomas said, hugging me. He smelled like expensive cologne. He'd been wearing expensive cologne a lot lately. We sat at my kitchen table. The same table where Thomas had done his homework as a kid. The same table where my wife and I had shared 35 years of breakfast together. Jennifer opened her briefcase with a crisp efficiency that would have been impressive if it weren't so predatory. "We've organized everything, Dad. We just need signatures on a few pages. I'd like to read through it first," I said. "Of course." But her smile was tight. I read slowly, very slowly. I asked questions about every clause, every provision. I asked them to explain terms I understood perfectly well. I watched Jennifer's jaw clench. I watched Thomas glance at his watch. After an hour, Thomas stood up. "Dad, this is pretty straightforward. Margaret must have explained power of attorney to you before, right? It's just so we can help you if you need it. But this says immediate and irrevocable. What does that mean?" "It just means it goes into effect right away. So if something happens, we don't have to wait for court approval to help you." "And irrevocable?" Jennifer's voice had lost its warmth. "It means you can't change your mind every 5 minutes. It means you trust us to do what's best for you." "What if I want to undo it later, Dad?" Thomas sat back down, took my hand, the same hand he'd held as a toddler, learning to walk. "Why would you want to undo it? Don't you trust us?" "Of course I trust you. You're my son. But I just want to understand what I'm signing." "You're overthinking this." Jennifer started stacking the papers. "Maybe we should come back when you're feeling more clear-headed." "I'm clear-headed now." "Are you?" She looked at Thomas. "He's been asking the same questions for an hour, going in circles. This is exactly what we've been worried about." "I'm not going in circles. I'm being thorough." Thomas squeezed my hand. "Dad, I know this is scary. Change is scary. But Jennifer and I only want what's best for you. We love you. We want to protect you." "Protect me from what?" "From making mistakes. From forgetting important things. From people who might try to take advantage of you." The irony of that statement hung in the air like smoke. I stood up. "I need to think about this more. I'm sorry, but I'm not comfortable signing today." Jennifer's face went cold. "David, we've been patient. We've been understanding. But this is getting ridiculous. We're trying to help you, and you're acting like we're the enemy." "I never said you were the enemy. You're implying it." She started shoving papers back into her briefcase. "You know what? Fine. Don't sign. But when something happens, when you fall, or forget to pay your bills, or get scammed by some stranger, don't come crying to us." "Jennifer," Thomas's voice held a warning. "No, Thomas. I'm done tiptoeing around this. Your father is being stubborn and paranoid, and we're wasting our time." She left the kitchen. I heard her heels clicking toward the front door. Thomas stood there, looking torn between following his wife and staying with his father. "I'm sorry, Dad. She's just frustrated. We're worried about you." "I understand." But he was already following Jennifer out. The door closed. Their car started. They drove away. I sat back down at my kitchen table and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Margaret had been right. They'd shown their hand. Frustration. Anger. But was it enough? The answer came 2 days later. Thomas showed up unannounced. He didn't knock. He used the key I'd given him years ago for emergencies. I was in my garage, organizing tools. "Dad, we need to talk." I turned around. Jennifer was with him. Her face was set in hard lines. "Your mother and I have made a decision," Thomas said. Strange how he called her your mother when he meant Jennifer. My real wife, Thomas's real mother, would have been horrified by what was happening. "What decision?" "We think it's time for you to move in with us. Today, we've already set up the guest suite." "Thomas, I told you, I'm not leaving my house." "It's not safe for you here anymore, Dad. You're confused. You're forgetful. Something bad is going to happen." "I'm not confused." Jennifer stepped forward. "David, we've been patient, but this ends now. You're coming with us. We'll pack what you need. The rest we can deal with later." "I'm not going anywhere." "Yes, you are." Her voice was steel. "Because if you don't, we're going to file for emergency guardianship. We have documentation of your declining mental state. We have witnesses who will testify that you're not capable of living alone. We'll get a court order, and you'll end up in a facility instead of with your family. Is that what you want?" My heart was pounding. This was it. The moment of truth. "You'd do that to me?" "We're doing this for you," Thomas said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Please, Dad, just sign the papers. Come with us. Make this easy." I looked at my son, really looked at him. When had he become this person? When had money become more important than his father? No. Jennifer moved fast. She grabbed the papers from Thomas's hands and shoved them at me. "Sign them. Now." "No." She pushed me. Hard. I stumbled backward. My hip hit the workbench. "You stubborn old man, do you have any idea what you're putting us through? Do you have any idea how much we've sacrificed trying to take care of you?" "Jennifer, stop." Thomas's voice was weak. "No, I'm done. He's going to sign these papers, or I swear to God." She pushed me again. This time I fell. My shoulder hit the concrete wall. Pain exploded through my ribs. I went down, unable to catch myself. I lay there, looking up at them. Jennifer was breathing hard, her face flushed. Thomas looked horrified, but frozen, unable to act. "This is your fault," Jennifer said, standing over me. "If you'd just done what we asked, none of this would have happened. But no, you had to be difficult." I didn't speak. I just watched her, watched my son, memorized this moment. "Let's go," Thomas finally said, his voice barely a whisper. "We'll come back later." They left. I heard the door close, the car start. Silence. That's when I made the call to Margaret. The ambulance came 20 minutes later. Margaret had insisted. The paramedics documented my injuries, bruised ribs, contusions on my shoulder and hip. They wanted to take me to the hospital, but I refused. I just needed the documentation. 2 hours after that, Detective Sarah Morrison showed up. Margaret had called her too. Sarah was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, with the kind of no-nonsense demeanor that made you believe she'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by any of it. "Mr. Carson, I understand you want to file a report about an assault." "Yes. My daughter-in-law pushed me. Twice. I have video evidence." We sat in my living room. I showed her the security footage. Showed her Jennifer pushing me. Showed her me falling. The audio was clear. Every word documented. Sarah watched in silence. When it ended, she looked at me. "Do you want to press charges?" "Not yet. I want you to know what happened. I want it documented. But there's more to this than assault." I told her everything. The manipulation, the financial pressure, the attempted power of attorney grab. I showed her the documents Thomas and Jennifer had wanted me to sign. I showed her Marcus Chen's investigation into their finances. "This is elder abuse," Sarah said quietly. "Financial exploitation, emotional manipulation, and now physical assault. Can you prove it? With what you've shown me?" "Yes." "But Mr. Carson, I have to ask, why not just cut them off? Why go through all this?" I thought about that question. I'd asked myself the same thing 100 times. Because he's my son. And part of me kept hoping I was wrong, kept hoping he'd stop Jennifer, kept hoping he'd choose being my son over needing my money. And now? Now I know. And now I need to protect myself. Sarah nodded. "Here's what I recommend. We document everything, but we don't move yet. We wait. If they come back, if they try again, we'll be ready. And Mr. Carson, next time they show up, if there is a next time, you call 911 immediately." There was a next time. Of course there was. 3 days later, Thomas called. "Dad, I'm so sorry about what happened. Jennifer feels terrible. We both do. Please, let us come over. Let us apologize properly. Let's start over." I almost believed him. Almost. That's the thing about being a father. You want to believe your child is better than their worst moment. "All right," I said. "Come tomorrow, evening, around 6. I called Margaret. I called Sarah. I told them tomorrow at 6, Thomas and Jennifer would be here, and we needed to be ready. "What are you planning?" Margaret asked. "I'm going to give them one more chance. One more opportunity to do the right thing. And if they don't, we end this." Margaret was quiet. Then, You're a better man than I would be. No, I'm just a father who wants to believe his son still exists somewhere under all this desperation. The next day, I prepared carefully. I wore the recording device Margaret had given me, better than the one I'd had before. Sarah and two other officers were in an unmarked car down the street. Margaret was on standby at her office. Thomas and Jennifer arrived at exactly 6 o'clock. Jennifer was carrying flowers. Thomas had a bottle of wine. They both smiled like nothing had happened. "Dad, we're so sorry," Thomas said immediately. "The other day, things got out of hand. We were frustrated, but that's no excuse." Jennifer set the flowers on my kitchen counter. "I shouldn't have pushed you. I'm ashamed of myself. I hope you can forgive me." They looked sincere. They sounded sincere. And for a moment, I wanted to believe them. "Come, sit down," I said. We sat at the kitchen table again. The same table. Always the same table. "Dad, we've been thinking," Thomas said. "Maybe the power of attorney was too much, too fast. Maybe we start smaller. Maybe you just add Jennifer to your bank accounts. Joint access. That way if something happens, we can help, but you still have control. Just joint access? That's all. Nothing permanent. Nothing irrevocable. Just a safety net." I looked at Jennifer. She was nodding, her face arranged in concerned daughter-in-law sympathy. But her eyes were calculating. I'd known this woman for 20 years. I'd walked her down the aisle when her own father refused to come to the wedding. I'd babysat her children. I'd lent them money when Thomas's business was struggling. And she'd pushed me into a wall and left me on the garage floor. "I can't do that," I said quietly. Thomas's face fell. "Why not?" "Because I don't trust you anymore." The words hung in the air. Jennifer's mask slipped. Just for a second, but I saw it. Rage. Pure, undiluted rage. "Dad, that's not fair. We made a mistake." "But it wasn't a mistake, Thomas. It was a choice. You chose to stand there while your wife assaulted me. You chose money over your father." "That's not true, isn't it? Tell me honestly. If I died tomorrow, what would you feel? Grief? Or relief that you'd finally have access to my accounts?" Jennifer stood up. "You ungrateful old man. After everything we've done for you, all the time we've spent, all the worry, and this is how you repay us? What exactly have you done for me, Jennifer? Besides, try to steal my home?" "Steal? We were trying to help you. By taking control of everything I own? By having me declared incompetent? By assaulting me when I wouldn't cooperate?" Thomas stood too. His face was red. "You've been spying on us, haven't you? You've been recording us? What kind of father does that? The kind who wants to know the truth about his son." "The truth?" Thomas's voice rose. "You want the truth? Fine. Yes, we need money. Yes, we're in debt. But that's not our fault. The economy, the market crash, Jennifer's practice struggling, it's all circumstances beyond our control. And yes, we thought you could help. We're family. That's what family does. Family doesn't manipulate and assault each other, Thomas. We never assaulted you. I have video evidence that says otherwise." Jennifer's face went white. "You recorded that?" "I've recorded everything. Every conversation, every visit, every lie you've told about my failing memory. Every time you've tried to gaslight me into thinking I'm incompetent." "You bastard," Jennifer whispered. "You set us up?" "No. I gave you every opportunity to do the right thing. You chose not to." Thomas looked between me and Jennifer, something dawning in his eyes. "What are you going to do?" "I've already done it. I've filed a restraining order. Neither of you are allowed within 500 feet of me or my property. I've changed all my locks. I've updated my will. I've set up an irrevocable trust that you can't touch, even after I'm gone. And I've filed a police report for assault and attempted financial exploitation." Jennifer lunged at me. Actually lunged. Thomas grabbed her, held her back, but her face was twisted with fury. "You'll regret this. We'll fight this. We'll prove you're incompetent. You'll do nothing." I stayed seated, stayed calm, because if you try, I'll press criminal charges. Detective Morrison has all the evidence. You'll both face charges. Elder abuse, assault, attempted fraud. Jennifer, you'll lose your law license. Thomas, You'll have a criminal record. Is that what you want? The fight went out of Thomas. He sank back into his chair, his head in his hands. Dad, please, don't do this. Think of Ethan and Lily. They need their parents. You should have thought of them before you decided to steal from their grandfather. We weren't stealing. We just needed help. You needed to be adults. You needed to handle your own problems. Instead, you decided to solve them by taking advantage of me. And when I wouldn't cooperate, Jennifer used violence. There was a knock at the door. Sarah Morrison and 2 officers. They'd been listening, waiting for the signal. Is everything all right, Mr. Carson? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. These 2 were just leaving. Permanently. Thomas looked up at me, tears in his eyes. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, give me another chance. I wanted to. God help me, I wanted to. He was my son, my only child, but I couldn't. Not anymore. You had chances, Thomas. Dozens of them. Every time I hesitated to sign those papers, every time I asked questions, every time I said no, that was me giving you a chance to stop, to realize what you were doing, to choose being my son instead of being my heir. You never took any of those chances. Sarah escorted them out. I watched through my window as they got in their car and drove away. I wondered if I'd ever see them again. The legal proceedings took 3 months. Jennifer tried to fight the restraining order. She claimed I was the one who was unstable, that I'd orchestrated everything to hurt them, but the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the security footage, Marcus Chen's financial investigation showing they'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. The court sided with me. The restraining order stood. I filed a civil suit to recover the money they'd already taken from me, small amounts they'd borrowed over the years, with promises to pay back. I got judgments, though I doubt I'll ever see the money. Thomas sent me a letter 2 months after everything ended. It was handwritten, 5 pages long. He apologized. He explained. He blamed Jennifer for most of it, said she'd been the one pushing, that he'd just gone along to keep the peace. He said he loved me. He said he wanted to make things right. I read the letter 3 times. Then I filed it away in a folder labeled Thomas that I keep in my desk drawer. I haven't responded. I don't know if I will. Margaret asked me once if I regretted how things turned out. You could have just given them the money, she said. Paid off their debts. Maybe things would have been different. Maybe, I said. Or maybe they would have just come back for more. Maybe I would have enabled them into deeper trouble. Maybe they needed to face consequences. That's very rational. Rational doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It does hurt. Every day. I think about Thomas as a little boy, how he used to follow me around the garage, handing me tools, asking a million questions. I think about teaching him to ride a bike, to drive a car, to be a man. I wonder where I failed him, what I could have done differently. But I also know I made the right choice. Because if I'd given in, if I'd signed those papers or handed over my accounts, I wouldn't have just lost my money. I would have lost myself. I would have become what they wanted me to be. A confused old man who needed to be managed, controlled, put away. I'm 72 years old. I'm in good health. I still have all my faculties. I deserve to live the rest of my life on my own terms. And if that means living it without my son, then that's the price I pay. I've thought about Ethan and Lily. They're the real victims in this. They didn't ask for any of this. I set up education trusts for them, structured so Thomas and Jennifer can't touch the money. When they turn 25, they'll each get access to funds for college, for starting their lives. Until then, the money is locked away, managed by an independent trustee. I sent them each a letter explaining why I had to cut ties with their parents. I don't know if Thomas and Jennifer will let them read those letters, but I dated them and had them notarized. When the kids are older, when they have questions, the letters will be there. I stay busy. I volunteer at the community center 4 days a week. I'm teaching a new crop of teenagers woodworking. Some of them remind me of Thomas at that age, eager and curious and full of potential. I try not to think about what they might become. I've started traveling. Small trips, nothing extravagant. Last month I drove up to Oregon to see the redwoods. Next month I'm flying to Boston to visit an old Navy buddy I haven't seen in 15 years. I'm doing all the things I planned to do in retirement before I got sidetracked by my son's betrayal. People ask me sometimes if I'm lonely. The answer is complicated. Yes, I miss having family. I miss the idea of Thomas and Jennifer and the grandkids. But I don't miss the anxiety, the constant vigilance, the feeling that every conversation might be another manipulation. I sleep better now. I don't jump every time the phone rings. I don't wonder if every visit is really about them wanting something from me. There's peace in that, even if it comes with loneliness. Last week, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Grandpa? It was Ethan. His voice was deeper than I remembered. 14, becoming a man. Ethan, how did you get this number? I still had your cell phone programmed in. I saved it before. He trailed off. I wanted to call, to see if you're okay. Mom and Dad don't know I'm calling. My heart was pounding. I'm okay. How are you? How's Lily? We're fine. School's good. Lily made the soccer team. I'm doing debate club. He paused. Grandpa, what happened? Mom and Dad won't really explain. They just say you got confused and turned against us. I closed my eyes. This was the moment. I could lie, make it easier, or I could tell him the truth. Your parents and I had a disagreement about my finances and my future. It got out of hand. I'm not confused, Ethan. I'm protecting myself. From them? Yes. Silence. Then, I kind of thought it might be something like that. Dad's been really stressed about money. And Mom, she gets this look sometimes. Like she's angry about everything. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. It's not your fault, Grandpa. I miss you. I miss our talks. I miss when things were normal. I miss that too. Can I call you sometimes? Just to talk? I won't tell them. I thought about Margaret's warnings, about the restraining order, about all the legal complications. Then I thought about my grandson, reaching out, trying to maintain a connection despite everything. Yes, you can call me. Anytime. We talked for 20 minutes. About school, about his debate team, about a girl he liked. Normal grandfather-grandson stuff. When we hung up, I sat in my chair for a long time, just thinking. Maybe that's how healing starts. Not with grand gestures or apologies, but with a phone call from a 14-year-old boy who misses his grandfather. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if Thomas will ever really change, if Jennifer will ever face what she did, if we'll ever be a family again in any meaningful way. But I know I made the right choice. I protected myself. I maintained my dignity. I refused to become a victim. And maybe, just maybe, I showed Ethan and Lily that it's okay to stand up for yourself, even when it costs you everything, even when it means standing alone. I'm not bitter. Bitterness would mean they'd won, that they'd taken not just my money but my peace of mind. Instead, I'm at peace. Sad peace, maybe. Lonely peace, but peace nonetheless. I built this house with my own hands. I raised my son in this house. I mourned my wife in this house. And I'll live out my days in this house, on my own terms, accountable to no one but myself. That's not nothing. That's actually everything. So no, I don't regret it. I don't regret standing up. I don't regret saying no. I don't regret protecting what I built. Because in the end, the question isn't whether I could have handled it differently. The question is whether I could have lived with myself if I'd just given in, signed over everything, and let them erase who I am. The answer is no. I couldn't have. And I won't. I'm David Carson. I'm 72 years old. I'm a widower, a father, a grandfather, a veteran, a carpenter, and a teacher. I'm not confused. I'm not incompetent. I'm not a victim. I'm just a man who refused to let go of himself, even when it meant letting go of everyone else. And I'm still here, still standing, still me. That's enough.